So I guess I kind of called it when I said that Ezra Miller was done. Now, in the meantime, he's done a lot of things. At this point, he's like a Avengers level threat.
Yeah, I need friends.
He's allegedly kidnapped a girl at this point, and it's just an insane amount of stuff going on with him. But we've had some buzz about Ezra being fired, and we got a statement and a bit of an article that I'm going to read to you. So let's get right into that. There is no winning in this for Warner Bros. One studio source tells us this is an inherited problem for Zaslav, Warner Bros. Discovery CEO David Zaslav. The hope is that the scandal will remain a low level before the movie is released, and hope for the best to turn out. Sources said that even if no more allegations surface, the studio is leaning towards not keeping Miller in the Flash role for future DC films. That would mean replacing him in the future, but Warner Bros. Execs have to be cringing at each new press report. When they say that they hope the scandal will remain at a low level, obviously it's not going to. I mean, this is something that a ton of people are talking about. Def Noodles is talking about it. Quartering is talking about it. I'm talking about it. So there's obviously like a wide range of people with different demographics that are talking about this. H3 was talking about it last week. This is a big thing, right? This has gone past, film circles. This is mainstream news now. So yeah, every person at Warner Bros. Is probably like, it's not too good that he's being accused of, choke slamming a woman in Hawaii and breaking into a house and threatening people with hammers, things of that nature. Obviously, it just looks worse and worse and worse for him. In fact, the reason I believe that he hasn't been cut from the movie already is because he's playing like 5 or 6 different roles in The Flash, and it's coming out next year, so it's like super late for them to be like going back through and changing it. Like, I mean, it would be nice for them to get Grant Gustin, so that he could work with a good budget and we could get some appreciation for him like we had a couple years ago, until the show got embarrassingly bad and we got to the point we are now with it. I'm talking about the CW show, but that isn't really the point. I'm going to keep reading the article. It is unknown, however, if it is even possible to recast Miller at this late in the game in regard to the 2023 film, so the studio will have to make some tough decisions on that front. One option is to relegate the film to an HBO Max streaming release, which will undoubtedly cut into profits, but it will result in a more low-key press tour and no red carpet events. Zaslav has been vocal about his hope to make the DCEU as successful as Kevin Feige's Marvel Cinematic Universe at Disney-owned Marvel Studios. The Flash, in fact, is set to including the return of Michael Keaton as Batman, along with the reprise of Ben Affleck, a $200 million budget, and a hot director in Andy Muschietti, who delivered the blockbuster It for the studio. So when it comes to making the DCEU as big as the MCU, that pretty much is down the toilet. I don't know, like, you would have to come out with like a string of like insane movies. I don't even know where you go with the DCEU at this point. Like, it's just been so jangled and finagled, for lack of a better term, even though there definitely is a better term than finagled. But it's just been so incredibly like just screwed around with, to the point I don't know what you do with this series. Like, where do you go? What do you do? I don't know. I'm not really the person to ask, of course, but still, I don't know. It is good that they'll bring back Michael Keaton, because, as with a lot of movies, it feels like a lot of people start to hate them less and less as things go on. And was it Michael Keaton that played Batman in all the old Batman movies? I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly, yeah. So those movies got a lot of hate back then. I'm sure there are fans of it now, and even people who were fans of it back then will be really happy about this. Ben Affleck, I'm surprised that he's coming back. That should be interesting. I feel like the main problem with him is that he was killing people, and that's not really a thing that Batman does. It's kind of his main rule. But small potatoes, right? At this time, however, the Ezra Miller problem is dampening the future success of all DC Expanded Universe projects until a firm decision is made about how to handle the star's offset issues. Warner Brothers has not issued an official statement regarding Miller at this time. So this isn't something that they've officially announced, obviously, but this is something that's clearly been in the works for a while. I mean, ever since he first started off doing all that crazy stuff in Hawaii, and all those memes were getting made, I pretty much figured hey, this is pretty much the end of Ezra Miller. I even called it, right? And this is such a weird stretch for anybody to go through. I mean, this is a guy that was in a lot of movies, was really successful. He did really good in Perks of Being a Wallflower. He did pretty good as the Flash. I really enjoyed him. And then now he's there's videos of him coming out and threatening Ku Klux Klan members, which trust me, I'm not crying a river about him threatening those kinds of people, but it's just a little weird that he's being so outwardly and aggressively verbally violent against any group, especially him threatening death against these people. It's weird. And now he's allegedly groomed this girl and gotten her to his mansion, and she's in there. It's a whole damsel in distress type of situation. There is a specific fairy tale I'm thinking of, but I can't name it. Yeah, the monster has the princess locked up in a tower, and the prince has to save her. And the prince in this case is her family and the police, who definitely need to step in and get this guy, because he's shown multiple times that he is clearly not operating with all the cylinders intact, if you get what I mean. Now, he's definitely not going to be, in any movies other than The Flash that's coming up right now. They're going to replace him. They should replace him with Grant Gustin. It's the clear, most obvious choice. I really wonder what caused this for Ezra Miller. But back to Grant Gustin, because I'm going to talk more about Ezra later on. I think he's a really great actor. He's been doing the role for almost a decade now, or maybe even more than a decade. So I feel like it would be really seamless to just take him from the show and just migrate him over to the movie franchise. You could even work it into the canon. Just be oh, this is what I look like now after the Flashpoint. Do a mini series about the Flashpoint, right? With Ezra Miller, maybe for 5 minutes, and then the Flashpoint completely changes his appearance. It doesn't have to be this super well thought out thing, right? Because this is something I came up with 10 seconds ago. But it still could be something that could kind of work, Obviously, I'm not, a writer, but I still think that it would be something that would be alright, and it would be better than keeping Ezra Miller, which, I mean, obviously at this point isn't even slightly a consideration at this point. I'm, again, really curious as to what caused this whole thing with Ezra. Has he just been doing stuff like this all his life, and it's just now coming to light? He flew too close to the sun. Maybe because that video of him threatening the Ku Klux Klan came out a while ago. The video of him choke slamming a woman came out a while ago. It was these Hawaii incidents that kept adding up and adding up and adding up and adding up. Oh, I've been saying he this whole video. I think I meant to say they. This was not on purpose. Just ranting. They're not they. I don't know what's going on with them and their brain, but it's really weird how this this thing just started happening. Because again, like, this isn't something that just happens to people. You don't just instantly go insane, you know. Even though Game of Thrones writers seem to think otherwise, there's sort of a build-up. There's like a reason why psychologists say that, like, serial killers, and I'm not saying that Ezra Miller is a serial killer. I'm saying, like, people of that, like, ilk will, like, they'll show signs early, like they'll torture animals early on in their life and things of that nature. And I think that Ezra Miller is somebody who probably did something of that nature, but obviously to a degree. Like, he probably hit some kid with, like, his lunchbox in 5th grade or something. Now, obviously, this is armchair psychology to a T, and I'm in no way qualified to talk about this in any way, so I really can't say anything. This situation was something that started out really funny and is, like, just spiraled into an insane cesspit. And at this point, you're kind of just watching to see what he does next. And that's all we really can do. So thank you all for watching. I really and truly appreciate it. Thank you for the nice comments you leave me. I read them all. I was responding to some yesterday. I'm going to try to respond to some more today. Thank you. Goodbye.